Now for our story. In Ben Calvert's home this evening, dinner had been the silent, glum meal it usually was, except on those occasions when there was open friction. Afterward, Ben had asked his daughter, Kitt Meade, to go into the study with him for a while. Jessie Calvert, Ben's wife, had overheard this invitation, and the look she had given father and daughter was filled with bitterness and hate. For Ben had blandly ignored Jessie, had ushered his beautiful daughter into the room where a pleasant fire was blazing, and had closed the door practically in his wife's face as she paused in the hallway outside. Now, Kitt seats herself comfortably before the hearth, sipping her coffee, while Ben stands before her with his feet spread and his hands clasped in back of him.
Well, Dad, what did you want to see me about?
Frankly, Kitt, my main purpose was to get away from Jessie.
Well, I can certainly sympathize with you. How you could ever permit yourself to marry her?
You may thank yourself for that. If you told me the truth before you went to California, it couldn't have happened. It was the only way to keep her from telling her malicious story.
Oh, Dad, you could have found some other way. Oh, no, it wasn't my fault she managed to get you into such a wild-eyed state of mind you thought you had to marry her to save the honor of the family.
Well, there's no help for it now. It's too late. We'll have to make the best of it for the time being.
She irritates me so. She always has.
Oh, let's talk about something pleasant.
What, for example? Your business? That's a favorite topic with you.
If it is, you haven't suffered because of it.
All right, Dad. Tell me, did you cut any throats today? Foreclose on anyone?
Sounds like you're trying to make me out to be a villain. To hear you talk, a person would think I specialized in cheating widows and orphans out of their insurance money.
Well, perhaps your methods are a bit more subtle.
Business is business. There's only one way to get ahead. You can't be soft. And by the way, that's one of the facts of life I'm going to teach that grandson of mine, just as soon as he's old enough to understand anything. That youngster certainly made a hit today down at the office.
Did he?
Bet your life he did. Men were all crazy about him.
Are you sure they weren't just buttering you up?
Why should they be?
Well, I can't see any reason for making such a fuss about the child. He's just a normal, healthy baby.
Mary Lane seemed to think he was more than that.
Aunt Mary?
Yes, I ran into her on Main Street. She was very much impressed with the boy.
And I suppose you were your usual tactful self, gloating all over the place.
Well, maybe I did gloat a little. I feel I have it coming to me. You should have seen Mary's face. She looked at the child so intently.
She was probably surprised to see you in the role of the happy grandfather.
No, she was obviously taken with him. The way she kept looking into his eyes. Oh, it did my heart good, knowing she couldn't find a thing wrong with him. He's a wonderful child, Kitt. And it's lucky for him he has me for a grandfather.
Why?
Oh, you know very well. What plans have you made for his future? You evidently don't give a hoot what happens to him. And he's your own son. I confess, Kitt, that I'm embarrassed by your attitude.
I don't see how my attitude toward the child affects you, Dad.
Of course it does. You are my daughter. Even Miss Thorndyke must have noticed your lack of interest in him.
Oh, Miss Thorndyke. What do I care what that woman thinks about me?
Well, all I say is it's time you showed a little interest in that child. He's got a future ahead of him.
Oh, my goodness, Dad. There's plenty of time to think about that. Besides, who knows what his future's going to be? Anything can happen.
Not the way I'm handling things. That child's going to be secure. I've already taken steps.
What sort of steps, pray tell?
I got in touch with George Farnsworth in Chicago.
Farnsworth? Who's he? Never heard of him.
Sometimes I think you only listen to about half of what I tell you, Kitt. I've told you about Farnsworth plenty of times. He's my attorney in Chicago.
Oh.
I'm having him draw up a very sound financial arrangement. A trust fund for the child. And, of course, that involves changing my will, too.
Oh, Dad.
There's no point in being careless about such things. He's coming down soon. We'll get the whole matter straightened out. But I want you to know this, Kitt. You and the boy are going to have everything.
Well, that's nice of you, Dad. Money. I ought to be grateful. I am, in a way. But I wonder if it makes much difference.
You'd find out soon enough if you were ever without money. Don't you worry. Money's what makes the difference.
I wonder if it does.
By the way, when I talked to George the other day, I asked him about that other matter, the divorce.
Oh, did you? What did he say?
It's just as I said. Bill has absolutely no case, none at all.
Did you tell him the whole story?
Certainly, as much as he needed to know. He told me there wasn't the slightest question. That should put your mind at rest.
Yes, it should, but...
What's the matter? Thought you'd be relieved. Kitt, you've told me everything, haven't you? You're not holding something back.
No, Dad. No, of course not.
Well, all right, then. Farnsworth said the best thing would be for you to go ahead and contest the divorce. Under the circumstances, as far as he could see, Bill hasn't the glimmer of a chance to win.
Well, that's good news.
You bet it is. And as to proving you an unfit mother, him trying to get custody of that child, why, it's just ridiculous. He's stymied before he ever gets into it.
Maybe so. But you should know that wouldn't stop Bill from trying.
Let him try. See how much good it'll do him.
That's all very well for you, Dad.
But you've nothing to worry about, I tell you. Let Bill do his worst. He can't possibly win. So who cares?
I do.
You? But why, Kitt? Good heavens, girl.
Dad,
What's the matter, Kitt?
so far I've let you run the show pretty much your own way. Originally, when I first came back with the baby, discovered how Bill felt, realized he wanted to split up, well, I was too beaten to care much, one way or the other. I just wanted to be let alone. You remember.
Yes, I remember you were feeling low, defeated. It made me furious, too, seeing you like that, letting him...
Now, wait a minute. Don't go off on one of your tirades. I just want to make something clear to you.
All right, Kitt, go ahead.
But then you put in your 2 cents worth. Insisted that I shouldn't let him get away with it. And I began thinking maybe you were right. Besides, I'll admit it, my pride was hurt. I was fairly certain Bill still had Peggy Douglas on his mind. And it infuriated me, the thought of their rushing into each other's arms the minute he might be free.
I don't blame you for that. Naturally, you'd want to prevent it. That silly little niece of Mary Leigh.
It was a question of pride. Pride and jealousy. There's no point in my trying to pretend it wasn't.
Kitt, what are you getting at? We're in absolute agreement on this thing.
No, Dad, we're not. Not anymore.
But you've just been saying
I've
that.
been trying to explain what made me react the way I did. But that was before. Since then, I've changed my mind.
But what do you think?
I can't face it, Dad. I was right to begin with. The more I think about it, the more certain I am. It isn't worth the struggle.
Kitt, what are you saying?
I'm telling you that I've decided to give Bill the divorce. Without a lot of fuss. I just can't face a fight in court. Everybody in town saying I couldn't hold my man.
That's crazy. We can make that boy look so foolish in court, nobody'll have any respect for him anyway. Make him a laughingstock.
No, that doesn't matter. It's not that I have any feeling left for Bill. I haven't. But it just doesn't seem worth the trouble. Don't you understand?
No, I don't, and I'm not going to let you do it. You're not going to give in to him.
Please, Dad. Oh, if you only knew how tired I am. How weary I am of the whole business. All I want now is to be out of the whole mess, to have something settled finally.
But it will be settled. That doesn't mean you have to give up. No, I'm not going to hear of it.
Dad, for heaven's sake, just this once, let me handle something my own way. It's the best thing to do, believe me.
I don't understand you, Kitt. I don't understand you at all.
Baffled, Ben looked into his daughter's face. He couldn't imagine why she was so frightened to face a divorce trial in court, when he just told her there was absolute certainty that she'd win. But what you don't know, Ben, is that Kitt is afraid the real truth might come out in court. The fact that the baby boy you're so proud of is not your grandson at all, but is the son of Lisa Fenner. If this became known, a great many people in Wakefield would have a good laugh at your expense. Now for our story. Kitt Meade had driven out to the Wakefield Auto Court this evening to see her estranged husband, Bill. As she got out of the car, she could see a bright square of light coming from the window of the bungalow. Now she stood outside, peering into the familiar room in which she had spent the first months of her marriage, studying Bill's face as he sat at his desk, tapping away at a portable typewriter. Then she saw him stop, rip out a sheet of paper, crumple it, and throw it to the floor.
Poor Bill. He's thrown himself into this new job of his with a sort of desperation. Driving himself. Trying to forget everything that happened. Trying to forget about me and the baby. It's ironic. Bill's feeling so paternal about that child. About Lisa Fenner's child. If he knew. Well, he won't, not if I can help it. I've got to bring something out of this mess. Even if it's only legal possession of a child I don't want. And the money Dad intends to leave to his grandchild. Well, I might as well get this over with. Hello, Bill.
Kitt.
Well, don't look as if you're seeing a ghost. Aren't you going to ask me in?
Oh, yes. Come in, Kitt.
Thank you, I will. I suppose in a way, Bill, I am a ghost. From the past.
Would you like me to take your coat?
Thanks.
Sit in the easy chair. It's more
No,
comfortable.
thanks, Bill. You sit there. It's like old times. You in the chair, me on the couch. If you don't mind, I think I'll lean back and put my feet up. Rather tired.
Sure. Make yourself comfortable.
I've been watching you for quite a while.
Watching me?
Mm-hmm. I stood outside, looked through the window before I knocked.
Oh.
I hope you don't mind. I was thinking, remembering. Me in a house dress with my hair in a bandana, scurrying around to have dinner ready by the time you came back from camp. Cutting out recipes from the home economics page in the Sunday supplement, rearranging the furniture. By the way, you've improved the place a lot. It's so tidy, too.
Well, I figured I might as well keep it respectable since I can't seem to find any better place to live around town.
You've done very well, really. It almost looks as if you were expecting a visit from the child care authorities.
I don't get you.
Well, don't they always send out investigators to see if a bachelor father can provide a good home for his child?
I'm afraid it's too soon to worry about quarters for my son, Kitt. Isn't that hitting below the belt?
It's my vicious streak again.
How is the baby, Kitt?
He's thriving.
That's good.
You needn't worry about him.
Needn't I? I wonder.
Oh, let's not talk about the baby now, Bill. He belongs to the present. Tonight I'm thinking of the past. It seems a long time since I spent my days, and nights, too, inside these four walls.
Yeah.
You've changed a lot. You know that?
Have I?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's quite amazing. And for the better. Even your rival, Nicholas Dorn, thinks you're quite a guy.
Nicholas. You know him?
Oh, casually. We meet occasionally at the Brown Palace bar.
Oh. Well, that's funny. He's never mentioned that he knew you.
And he didn't. Until yesterday. You see, we used to chat together, but we'd never introduced ourselves. I found out who he was first. But I didn't tell him my name until yesterday.
Oh, I see. Oh, what? I mean, he must have been rather surprised.
Oh, he was. Unpleasantly so. My fame had preceded me. In fact, when I told him my name, he looked like a man who just discovered a cobra coiled up in his favorite chair at the club. Tell me, Bill, do you think I'm poisonous, too?
Oh, I don't know, Kitt. Don't ask me.
No, go ahead. I can take it. Have I changed at all?
Well, Kitt, when we were first married, you were quite a lot different for a while.
Was I really, Bill? How different?
Oh, you know, you were softer, more gentle.
Soft and gentle. Me. And now I reverted to type, is that it? Now I'm again that sarcastic, cruel, selfish woman.
Kitt, why are you doing this to yourself?
What's the matter, Bill? Don't you believe in self-analysis?
Well, what good does it do, all this bitterness you have?
I suppose you're going to tell me I'd be a much happier person if I'd love my fellow creatures, turn the other cheek, and so on.
Well, maybe it sounds corny, but I do believe that.
I almost believed it, too, once. But I found out it didn't work.
Perhaps it would have. Maybe you didn't give it a fair chance. You're smart, Kitt. You have a quick mind. You've always been able to talk rings around me. And yet it seems to me that there's something you should have found out by now, and I don't understand why you haven't.
What is that, Bill?
Well, the way I see it, you get from people, from life as a whole, just about what you give. If you approach living with your dukes up, ready to swing the first time a person comes toward you, well, naturally, you arouse that other person's instinct to defend himself. And pretty soon you have a first-class battle on your hands.
And you think that's what I've done?
Well, that's the way it looks to me.
Been seeing much of Aunt Mary lately?
Not too much, but I see her every chance I get. Why?
Oh, nothing. I just wondered. I had a feeling you've been talking to her.
Oh, you're wrong, Kid, if you think Aunt Mary's against you. But she dislikes you.
Oh, don't try and tell me I'm one of her favorite people.
No, of course I won't. That would be silly the way things have gone. Oh, but Aunt Mary's very patient, very tolerant. She always tries to figure out why people do the things they do, and she's usually right. Now, that's what I mean about trying to meet people on a friendly basis. She always does, if she can.
You're turning into quite a philosopher, aren't you, Bill? Well, I'll tell you. There's something terribly wrong with your theory. I hate to disillusion you, but the fact is it's dangerous to let your guard down. If you do, somebody's going to get in a good uppercut, to carry out your own figure of speech, and you'll go down for a good long count. For instance, look at my father.
What about him?
How far do you think a person would get with him if that person didn't take good care to protect himself? Dad's a successful man, and that's why he's successful. Because he doesn't ever let anyone get the jump on him. You should know that, of all people.
Yeah, but it doesn't change my attitude. He may be on top now, but I'm not so darn sure he'll stay there.
Well, I am.
Yes, I can see you are. You're very much under his influence. Hey, this is the first time we've had a normal, peaceful conversation in so long, Kit. But there's something I'd like to ask you.
All right, Bill.
Well, I know you're unhappy and bitter now, but I've wondered, do you honestly feel you would have been happier, made a better life for yourself, for both of us, if we'd stayed together?
Frankly, Bill, I don't.
You're a strange woman. I guess I don't understand you at all.
Perhaps I don't understand myself. But I do know there's something, I don't know what it is. Something I want that I've never had. I'm restless, discontented.
Do you think it's because of your background? Your father?
I don't know, Bill, but at any rate, you needn't worry about it any longer.
What do you mean?
You can forget all about me. Just cross off these months we spent together to experience. Pretend it never happened. Start all over. Yes, you can hang out the banners and chill the champagne. You've got something to celebrate.
Kit.
Oh, I know, Bill. I sound rather hysterical, but I'm not really. I'm simply trying to tell you that I'm going to get a divorce. You'll be free.
Bill Meade couldn't believe his ears. So this was the reason for Kitt's visit, for her strange mood, her dwelling on the past. She decided to give him a divorce after all. But I wonder, Bill, whether you'd better allow yourself to look forward too eagerly to your freedom. Because Ben Calvert is still to be considered, and Ben prefers to fight the matter out in court. If that happened, you'd be bound to lose, Bill. And even if you win, what happiness can you expect from your freedom? What hope have you, actually, of recapturing the love of Aunt Mary's niece, Peggy Douglas? Now for our story. This evening, Kitt Meade had driven out to see her estranged husband, Bill. There was something she wanted to tell him, something very important, and there was something she wanted to ask of him, too. As she walked up to the little bungalow Bill occupied at the Wakefield Auto Court, she'd looked through the window, had seen Bill working at his typewriter. And somehow the sight of him working there alone, trying desperately, as Kitt knew, to keep himself from thinking of their broken marriage, of the baby boy toward whom he felt such a responsibility, believing the child to be his own, seeing him like that had given Kitt a momentary feeling of sympathy toward him. And later, their conversation together had been more quiet and friendly than any they'd had since their separation. Kitt was so different from her usual self that for Bill the evening had assumed a quality of unreality. And the illusion was completed when Kitt finally explained her reason for coming, when she'd said the words Bill had never expected to hear her say.
You can forget all about me, Bill. Just cross off these months we spent together to experience. Pretend it never happened. Start all over. Yes, you can hang out the banners and chill the champagne. You've got something to celebrate.
Kitt.
Oh, I know, Bill, I sound rather hysterical, but I'm not really. I'm simply trying to tell you that I'm going to get a divorce. You'll be free. Well, aren't you going to throw your hat in the air, give out with loud cries of joy? What's the matter?
Well, frankly, Kitt, I don't quite believe it.
You mean it's too good to be true? Never mind. When you have the final papers in your hand, you'll know. So cheer up. You know, you're letting me down, Bill. I thought you'd be so pleased.
Pleased, Kitt? No, that's not the word.
Well, I certainly didn't expect you to be so glum about it. You gods, you've been begging for a divorce ever since I came back from California. All the fuss you made, refusing to spend even one night under Dad's roof and so on. Now you look as if you've just had bad news.
Well, that's not it.
Well, maybe I've been wrong, then. Maybe you've begun to like this arrangement. Having your freedom to do what you please, and yet still legally tied so you're protected in a way from getting entangled again. I've known men like that, but I never thought you'd be one of them.
Oh, don't talk like that, Kitt. You ought to know I'm not that sort of a guy. Oh, it's just that I've become rather skeptical, I guess.
Well, sure, you don't think I came out here tonight just to put on an act.
I don't know. I admit I've never been able to figure you out. You're so changeable.
Perhaps I've seemed to be, Bill. But you can believe me now. This is one time I have no intention of changing my mind.
Well, naturally, if you really mean it, I'm pleased to have the thing settled. Although, as I said, pleased isn't quite the word.
How about ecstatic? Will that do?
No, Kitt. Now, maybe you feel lighthearted about this thing, but I don't.
Oh, absolutely. I feel so lighthearted I could scream.
I guess it's a hangover from my adolescence, when I used to think of marriage so idealistically. But divorce has always meant failure to me. A failure which might have been avoided.
Well, I must say you're choosing a strange time to get sentimental over the institution of marriage, Bill. After months of clamoring for a divorce...
Oh, I've always felt this way, Kitt. And even though I realize in our case it's the only way out, well, that doesn't make me feel any better about it. But I still don't understand what made you change your mind.
Maybe I felt sorry for you. You've been so depressed lately. Maybe I couldn't stand to see you suffering.
Oh, don't joke, Kitt. You've never really loved me, even in the beginning. You're certainly not overly fond of me now. No, there must be some other reason.
Look, Bill, it's just possible that your ideas of love and mine are somewhat different. I may not have loved you according to your definition, but for a while I did love you in my own way. However, that was finished a long time ago.
Yeah, I know it was. That's what I can't figure out. What made you hang on so long afterwards? Why did you go out of your way to make things tough for me?
You'd never understand if I told you. Not in a million years. Anyway, what difference does it make? The fact is, I'm going to give you a divorce. Why worry about my reasons?
Oh, but your reasons are important. Besides, what about your father? He certainly can't have changed his mind. The last time I talked to him, he was dead set on giving me the works.
Oh, don't you bother your pretty little head about Dad. I can handle him.
Perhaps. Well, when do you plan to put the thing through?
Immediately. Dad has an attorney coming down from Chicago next week. I'm going to talk to him then.
I see.
Well, Bill, what are you going to do when you're a free man? Oh, no, don't answer that. I know. You're going to rush right out to the Lane farm and carry Peggy away on a white horse. And don't tell me she's engaged to Nicholas Dorn, because I happen to know Nicholas is all fired with chivalry, determined to sacrifice himself to the cause of true love.
Aren't you forgetting something?
On the contrary, I'm remembering everything.
Yes, but you're remembering the way Peggy and I were in the past, Kitt. Things change.
Oh, not you and Peggy. You are the original Dante and Beatrice, Romeo and Juliet, Napoleon and Josephine.
Oh, please, Kitt.
What's the matter? Do I offend your tender sensibility?
Well, I wish you wouldn't make a joke of everything. In the first place, it isn't fair to Peggy, your assumption that the minute I'm free, she's going to drop everything and start over from the beginning.
All right. I'll be serious. And I'm really curious. I suppose you do plan to marry again. Or have I embittered you completely?
Oh, I'm not thinking of another marriage at this point.
Why?
Oh, you should know why, Kitt. A man with a child, a baby.
A man with a... Oh, look, Bill. The baby has nothing to do with you, nothing at all.
Well, surely you didn't think I'd forgotten about my son, Kitt. If you did, you're all wrong. Naturally, I'm glad you've decided not to make a fuss about the divorce, but I still intend to get the baby if I can.
That's impossible.
Well, maybe it looks that way, but I'm going to take it to court just the same. I'll win out somehow.
But you've no grounds, Bill. You'll only go to a lot of trouble for nothing. Everyone says you haven't the faintest hope of winning.
Well, I'm going to do the best I can. I'd never forgive myself if I didn't even try. Kitt, why don't you give in? You've told me over and over you didn't want the baby. You wished you'd never had him.
Suppose I did say that. What of it? I think every woman has felt that way one time or another. It's all very well for you to be sentimental about the baby. You've never had the responsibility of him, the worry, the strain.
Well, if you feel like that, I don't understand why you insist on keeping him. What is it, Kitt? Are you afraid people would talk about you?
What do you mean, talk about me?
Well, I mean, is it some sort of pride that you'd rather keep the baby, even if you don't really love him, than give people an opportunity to gossip, say you're not a good mother?
Have you ever known me to give a hang about what this town thinks of me, Bill? You, of all people, should know they don't bother me. Their little small-town minds.
I don't believe you, Kitt. I think it matters a lot to you what Wakefield thinks. And I know it's important to your father, his selfish pride. And that's so trivial. When you compare it, realize how much more important the child is.
You talk as if the child weren't getting the best possible care, as if we neglected him.
I think you do neglect him. He needs affection, love. Can you honestly say you give it to him?
Bill, believe me, the child will be all right, I promise.
But he won't be, not the way you're handling things now.
All right, I'll change then. Really, I will. I'll do anything if you'll promise not to take the case into court. Please, Bill.
But, Kid, I couldn't trust you. You've broken promises before. Besides, I'm not sure you're capable of changing, of bringing that baby up as he should do.
But I am. Just let me prove it to you.
I don't understand you. Why does it matter so much? I've never seen you like this.
Never mind why I feel this way, but I'm asking you. I'm begging you. Please don't drag me through a court trial, a custody suit for that baby. I just can't face it, that's all.
If I only knew what you're reasoning.
Oh, what difference does it make? If I promise to take good care of the child, I'll smother him with affection. I'll do anything you say.
Kid, I wish I believed you, but I don't. And my son's all that matters, nothing else.
Bill, all the time I've known you, I've never thrown myself at your mercy. Never asked you to do me a favor. But I am now. For the sake of the feeling you once had for me, whatever it was, for the moments we've shared together, and there were good ones, Bill. Please, do this one thing for me. I'll never ask you for anything again. Please, Bill, let me keep the baby.
Bill Meade was puzzled. He'd never seen Kitt so desperately concerned about anything before. But if you only knew it, Kitt, the promise you're attempting to force from Bill might not protect you after all. For a change of events has been started, which began when Randy Lane rescued Lisa Fenner from the icy river and brought her to his mother's house, to Aunt Mary's. A chain of events which might mean that, in the end, Kitt, neither you nor Bill will have the child.